Men. All right, so we're still talking about, of course, Mica Francis and uh, bringing attention, spreading the word, keeping the memory alive, keeping the case going, keeping the pressure on, especially on John Paul Miller. Hey, we all have different ideas. We all have speculations, and most of us who are content creators have done a lot of research trying to figure out what exactly happened April 27th, 2024 to beautiful, talented, amazing Mica Francis. What happened that day? There's so many speculations. What happened? Um, we've seen last night, Agatha May, as always, did an excellent report. She called it Connecting the Dots. So that's why I went ahead and called this also Connecting the Dots, because that's what we're basically doing here. This morning, Anne did a live. Um, she gets really upset. She has a lot of frustrations and that type of thing. In my opinion, doesn't show a lot of tolerance to anybody who doesn't agree with her. But she has every right to feel any way she wants to feel. It's her platform, her show, and it's grown tremendously. And she does a lot of hard work. Um, I personally don't really like to get yelled at for having a different opinion, and I feel kind of funny about that. But at the end, she did apologize for losing her temper and that type of thing too. I think she tries to do. Um, a good job presenting the facts as she knows them, and she's certainly done a lot of work. But to me, it's like we all have the right to come up with ideas. You shouldn't be made to feel like you're an idiot because you might not agree with somebody else. That's just my opinion. But bless y'all, welcome in. I'm just continuing with my gigantic pile of notes and just going over them to see, hey, maybe y'all missed some information throughout this year-long um, convoluted story. It's like I told my daughter, it's like this story that just won't end. Every time I'm ready to pick up something else or lay this down and just wait to see what happens with the FBI and whatnot, sure enough, something else happens to draw attention. Whether it's what in the beginning it was John Paul coming out with all those TikToks and whatnot, News Nation, where he really, in my opinion, made a complete fool and ass of himself, trying to state that how much he loved Micah, how he was the best possible husband ever. Well, to me and to most people, it's just freaking revolting to watch him and to see how he's carried on for the last year, continuing in ministry, offering what has it been, 5 new ministries coming out of this church, an ungodly amount of money supporting this man. There are things I don't understand. And I think that just we as Christians need to wake up and stop idolizing preachers and doctrines. Literally, stop idolizing and go to the point. What is the fruit of the ministry? What is the fruit of the pastor? Why is a pastor who has been divorced, especially for adulterous conduct on his behalf, even in ministry, there there wasn't time to repent. There wasn't time to fully, get your act together, because we know that adultery starts in the mind first. We've seen that he has abused children allegedly under his care. Why somebody like this was in charge of an elementary school, or faith first, you know it's scary. It's scary. I live here in Myrtle Beach, and to know that somebody like this has been loose for the number of years, and then his father before him, and is still, literally, in my opinion, on the prowl. You know. Well, welcome in, Emery Smith. It's good to see you. I'm 149. Welcome in. I'm so happy y'all are joining me today. we are going to look at these notes again. All right. So I wrote down some notes from this morning talking about some of the things that, of course, uh, Agatha May went over, the MFTN, or as she put it, the Mufton Man. We're talking about the uh, property at 803 Howard, where Solid Rock Church is located, or the defunct Solid Rock Church that still seems to be having services in it. I don't know what's going on with that. If y'all have any idea, please leave it in the comments, because the whole story is just really bizarre. She found that there were 83 names associated with the 803 Howard address, the Solid Rock building. She found that all 83 were alumni of the Bible colleges associated with, of course, the infamous Wayne Miller, Gloryland, Cathedral Bible College, All Nations Bible College. Agatha May connected some names, the Dutois, and of course Troy Taylor, who was a convicted child heir. Then we found Nabil or Nabal Shazan, who is a jeweler who, interestingly enough, spent 4 hours with Mica. This thing about 4 hours with Mica shortly before her death was also spoken of by John Paul Miller. He spent 4 hours with her. Remember yesterday during the live, I talked about that and how he presented a whole different story than the story that Mica told her own sister of their last day together. Okay, so Nabil's a jeweler. His name was found in a diary entry of Mica's. We had some other names popping up. David and Angelina, or David and Angela Victoria. He was a business administrator. She was a bookkeeper for Wayne's projects. We'll just call it. I don't even want to call it a college. Eric Wilder came into play. He has a property on the Lumber River next to Winslow. He also was JP's best man in his first marriage to Allison. This is just one big conglomeration of alleged crooks and thieves, and it's deep, and then really, in my opinion, unless you were there, you probably couldn't even tie all this together. But we're doing our best to bring the information to her. We found that a man named Camille and Dorena Frazier, well, they're associated to the I want to call it Mufton now because of Agatha, the MFTN Association. Basically, I'm just going over these notes just to bring us kind of current with the latest information. We had the Beulah Worship Center or convention, put it that way, where we saw these names again: Camilla Frazier, Dorena Frazier, looking a lot like the Duttons on their website. Just flamboyant. They seem to be involved in everything. They have after school care. They have a thrift store, which apparently they were able to fund with a huge grant from the government because it's not religiously connected, put it that way. Just a lot. And this dude, Frazier, owns a restaurant here in Conway. I've moved up to Conway, which is just outside Myrtle Beach. So this is actually in the town that I live in right now. In fact, I've heard about this place, this jerk chicken place or whatever, this Jamaican jerk restaurant that he has. He's listed. It's a Caribbean jerk. Sorry. It sounds like if he's involved with these people, he himself may be a Caribbean jerk. I don't know. I'm just stating, I'm connecting the dots myself in my own way, put it that way. All right. So we have uh also Pastor Jumba from Africa here in 2024 on a conference date. I'd like to know more about this Jumba, to tell you the truth. In the beginning we thought, okay, he's associated with the uh, Mica Francis ministry, the ministry that was named Dare to Care. My first impression was, the ministry itself was, Micah's doing. It turns out later on that we found out that Mike had actually wanted to have a ministry in the Pakistan area. Now, whether she wasn't allowed to have this or it came under great, scrupulation and was, you know, the idea was banished because of Wayne Miller's filthy connection with Pakistan. You know, I don't know. If any of y'all know, please leave it in the comment. I sure would like to know more about this Pastor Jamba, who eventually Mike was allowed to have a ministry. It looked like that possibly this was already in progress before Micah really even got involved, from what I understand. If you all understand it differently, just let me know, because I'm just trying to get the story right as well. But if anybody knows anything about Jamba, especially anyone who is in Nigeria, I would love to know if you've heard of him and what kind of reputation he has. Because to me, anybody associated at this point with Pastor John Paul Miller, his father Wayne Miller, or any of these casts of characters involved in Micah's tragedy, I wouldn't trust any of them. I don't trust any of them because my mama always said birds of a feather flock together. And indeed, that has been my experience in life. For example, I don't have any associations with known criminals that I know of. That's because I'm not a criminal. I want to be with people who are honest and who are doing their best to live, uh, you know, pure lives, as pure as we can be in this mortal condition that we're in. I want to be with people who are, better than me, in the sense that, they've mastered some of the areas that I still struggle with. I want to be encouraged in my life by people who are doing well. And that doesn't necessarily mean financially, set or anything. That seems to be the big glue that holds together this cast of characters. Um, so, to me, I'm not going to hang out with people that aren't trying, other than to minister them and to help them to become a new creature in Christ. Yes, for that purpose. But as far as having business ties with people, I'm going to be real careful about the people that I make these type of yokes with. We'll just say, the Bible talks about being unequally yoked. And that is sharing a burden. It's sharing a direction, and it's sharing a work mentality. Put it that way. It's not always just having to do with marriage. It can also do with business. We hear it preached about that way. All right, so those are some questions I have. I really do have some questions about Jamba and the whole Jumba and his whole ministry and what was going on before Micah got involved with it. I'm putting some feelers out to some people that are in Nigeria so that I could just hear from them. Welcome in. Thank you for joining me today. This is Chevy Cool Lady. Grab your coffee because we have a stack of notes to go through. I just want to touch base on some things I heard this morning. Delicious. All right. So as I was going through my notes, I'm going to pop back here and we're going to talk about a few other things that I saw in this case, and how it this is a story of To me, mind control and manipulation. Um, and I believe Micah was under such brutal attack and spiritual attack that I believe that, John Paul was just trying to capture her soul. And there is such a thing as a captive spirit um, in the mind control arena. I got some notes from a short video that I saw called Mind Control Made Easy by Carrie Burt. She did a real good job putting this together. So I want to go over these notes with y'all. Basically, mind control in a captive spirit, layer like an onion. Uh, from the surface, it seems benign on the outside, but the evil is within. What we saw was a church called uh, Solid Rock Church. Solid Rock would present itself in name as something with integrity. The solid rock, Jesus, the rock of our salvation. But it turned out that this was just a facade, and inside was nothing but rotten fruit. We're talking about mind controlling a captive spirit in relation to the Mica Francis case. We saw the fruit of deception, the lies and the distortion of the truth. The front groups, the I'm going to talk now about some of the flying monkeys. This is a term that has been in use since literally the Wizard of Oz came into play, where we saw the monkeys that were the agents for the Wicked Witch. Okay, so JP is playing the role of the Wicked Witch, and his flying monkeys begin with the to me head monkey, which would be um, Trish Ross, in my opinion. Uh, she possibly is even the person on the phone, the fake phone calls to Robbie Harvey. If y'all saw that last night, it was called something like, the fake phone call has been identified or whatever. And, he did anything but identify the fake phone call. He just played it on his show last night if you missed it. So he didn't identify, but he did play a longer version, and to my ear, that's who it sounded like. But I could be wrong. It's my opinion. All right, so he had front groups. He had I think Anne brought the term flying monkey to this particular case, so we thank her for that. We saw how John Paul used the people in the church to perpetrate his lies and narrative. We saw how even the very uh, what should I say? The baby in the baby carriage, the mission trip to the last mission trip that was taken to the Dare to Care facility in Nigeria, or I'm sorry, in Kenya. I keep saying Nigeria. I'm sorry about that. Let me correct that. That's Kenya. I've had Nigeria on my heart and my mind for weeks now, so it's just slipping out. But the ministry was in Kenya, I believe. So now I'm confusing myself. But anyway, so we saw how John Paul wouldn't allow Micah to go on the last trip, and even went so far as to tell these monkeys not to even talk to her about it, isolating her. Number one tactic of an abuser: isolation, deception. So during that time, we saw his little groups just shunning Micah, literally shunning her to the point where, she didn't even have any friends left in her world. She said she was used to, in a video, said she was used to being around large circles of people, and that now her group had to be very small because of the stuff she was going through. She couldn't share these things Oh, poor Micah, man. My heart really goes out to her when I think of that. How the people, the very people she's been leading for years in worship, the people she's been teaching, and that she's been printing t shirts and designing, you know, she gave her heart to the people, and the people turned their back on her under the direction of John Paul Miller. And that's not everybody. There were people who were her friends. There was Charlotte, and there was other people that didn't let her go. But I'm just talking just as a general rule. People were following the pastor as they're taught to do. The famous quote that abusive pastors like to use, touch not mine anointed, whatever. That's just a bunch of crap. Live right, pastor. Live right. Okay. Do your due diligence in the Lord to be a holy man. And then you don't have to worry about being touched by man, do you? Now, unrighteous pastor, the Lord himself will touch you. And I pray soon. All right. So there's a lot of front groups that people like John Paul put up, Bible studies, youth groups. Some do the school thing, like we saw first Faith First. Some open even drug rehabs and that type of thing to control their own narrative and to also provide themselves a whole support group of flying monkeys to to be on the alert and attack anyone who would dare to say anything against an unrighteous pastor. Not all pastors are this way. In John Paul Miller's case, that's what we've seen. We've seen that there's a lot of pressure and isolation in Micah's life due to the manipulation of John Paul. He tried very hard to control her behavior. We saw it through the medication, of course, through, you know, to me, false medical reports, even, or certainly we saw on the medical reports that it seemed like John Paul had a lot of input in Micah's condition report, if there even was a condition. Her family said she was fine. She was fine. But anybody living with a narcissist or an abusive person is going to have problems. Is going to be anxious. Is going to be afraid, especially if he's taking a whole group of people and turned them against you know yeah, it causes problems. It causes problems to the extent that the survivor can't even function correctly in their day. Remember, he was at her work and he was doing a lot of other things to her, constantly tracking her, putting devices in her tires that could have killed her. Her life, she knew, was on the line, and she said, if I'm found with a bullet in my head, it was John Paul. That's Micah's words. We believe there's a lot more to this. There was a controlling of her thoughts, rigid schedules, high levels of activity. He had her literally doing, it seemed like, almost everything in the church. He kept her busy so that he could do his own thing, in my opinion. Okay, so today we were also talking about, was it possible for her to be transported by boat from either Winslow's property, the property next to it, or any property? I did a video a long time ago. I said, it was one of the first things I did. I just was curious. Is it possible to get from Winslow's property to the Princess Anne observation deck or nearby the slough? And I found some local fishermen and whatever, and traced the course. And yes, it's possible. No, it wasn't in the time frame. And Anne did bring that up this morning. It's not likely. In my report, it was 4 hours, 4 to 5 hours. So yeah, physically it can be done, but the timeline is off. So, you know, there's that. There's that. Could she have been put in the water closer at another property or not? You know, that's a possibility, but there's nothing to prove it. Um, there's a lot of possibilities, but without the proof, we're still in the dark. All right. All right. So we found out that, let's see, the Frasers, definitely were both alumni of Miller so-called college. Uh, they they were also connected to a convention that took place, and that was also had the pastor Jumba there. That was at the St. Delight Conference Center in 2024. Okay, so today, a little bit later, I happen to live right near Bear Bluff. It looks like a whole lot of nothing. It's a little country road, but it's not a mile from where I live right now. So a little bit later, I'm just going to go down that road with the camera, and we're going to take a look at it together. I've looked at it on maps, and I think y'all have too, but I haven't seen anybody actually drive down that road. I don't have a clue. Is this connected? Is this not connected? We don't. It sounded in the 911 call that was from Mica. Again, was this AI? Was this her? Was it somebody else? Was it a spoof? We don't know. That hasn't been proven. You would think that part could have been proven by now within a year. I did actually see someone enter the call into you know, some kind of AI device, some kind of AI program that determines, is a call AI or is it not AI? Is it a human voice? That particular investigation showed that it was not AI. Again, I'm just giving you some information about something I saw. I don't know. It sounded bizarre. It sounded like AI. It sounded like a false call to me. It One of the main things about it was we didn't hear them even ask her name. Not to say that it wasn't on there, or that we were given the full information. Never heard that. Did y'all hear that? Well, anyway, I just thought it would be interesting to go ahead and ride down Bear Bluff and just take a look at the area. That's all. So I'll do that a little bit later. Now, we've seen so much go on with this case. We saw, of course, I don't want to just keep going over the same thing that we've already done. But that's all we have to work with is the information that we've been given. The information a lot of good reporters and good investigators have come up with in their effort to solve this mystery, to connect the dots, and we all want to just see justice for Mica. That's at the end of the day what we want to see. We want to see accountability. We want to see the people that we believe are responsible for her death, one way or another, held to count. I thank you all for your time today. We're going to take a look at this area a little bit later, just for the heck of it. And I will bring that to you in a few hours. So thanks for joining me. I appreciate y'all. I love you guys. Please like, subscribe, share, and all that. Thank you and have a great day. Be blessed.